see a little bit. Today we're going to be clearing the rear sunroof drains on this 2013 Porsche Cayenne 958. It's a very common problem that these cars suffer from, whether it's either got a sunroof or the panoramic roof. This one has the full panoramic roof and I have a problem. If your rear sunroof drains are blocked as well, you'll start to notice a few symptoms. Firstly, water will be pooling in the boot, particularly where the spare wheel well is underneath the shelf. Alternatively, you might notice when it's raining or after you've just washed the car, the inside of the C-pillar will have water running down it from the headlining area on the inside. You may also notice incessant condensation on the rear windows, particularly on these rear quarter windows. This is a very common thing with cars that have panoramic or sunroofs, but the VAG group cars have a particularly problematic one, and it crosses lots of different models, including Porsche Cayenne, but also Audis and Volkswagens. If you have one of these cars, you should treat clearing the rear sunroof drains and the front ones as a routine matter of course, a couple of times a year at least, depending on where you park the car. If you're parking it under trees regularly, do it more regularly. You really don't want to let a water ingress problem carry on for too long on one of these cars. It can cause no end of problems with the electronics and eventually kill them, and you really want to avoid that because the modules are quite expensive. I'm going to show you exactly where these rear drains route and where they terminate underneath the car, so it's probably not as daunting as you think. In the previous video I showed how to clear the front sunroof drains, and I'd recommend doing that first really. Now mine are flowing perfectly freely and I'm totally confident they're clear and doing exactly what they should be. So the symptoms I've got must be solely down to the rear drains, which is what I'm going to move on to today. Now the problem I'm facing with this car is on a cold and damp day I'm occasionally hearing a buzzing through the stereo, which doesn't seem to be controlled by the head unit. For example, when the buzzing starts, which is usually around 15 minutes into a journey, if it starts at all, maybe 50-50 at the moment, it'll start this constant buzzing background noise, and even if I mute the radio, it continues. The only way to stop it is to pull over and lock the car for 10 seconds and restart, or unplug the amp. I was quite puzzled about how that was even possible at first. But then I discovered that the amp is actually positioned directly below the C-pillar, just behind this cover, right in the firing line for any overflowing rear sunroof water. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get the panoramic roof open, pour some water in carefully towards the rear drains, and confirm that that water is turning up underneath the car, at which point I can show you where the rear drains actually exit. By doing that, we're going to be able to gauge just how free-flowing these rear drains are before we even do anything to make them even freer. You'll notice we've got a bit of a problem. With the fronts in the previous video, it's dead easy. We can see the top holes that connect the tubes for the drains. At the rear, we can't do that. The rear plate of glass does not move at all. The front plate of glass slides backwards on two hinges. Those hinges are on runners that are actually in the side channel that connects the front tray and the rear tray for the water collection from the sunroof. So instead of opening it all the way and expecting you'll somehow access it at the rear, because you won't, what you need to do is put the roof forward just the right amount so you can pour water in the gap that's just exposed as the rear hinge passes towards the front. Perfect. So I can now use this little funnel in here, and when I pour water in, it should go along the channel all the way to the rear drain. Should work very well. I'm excited to start pouring water in to see that it actually does appear under the car, and I'll show you where it appears. But before I do that, I'm just going to pop off these middle covers here, which are the ones that are just up to the headliner. That should give us our first glimpse at the actual rubber tube, which is the drain tube that travels all the way down to the floor. Bit of insulation. You'll notice it's on an orange tether, which is strange, but it's the way it is. And this chunky black rubber pipe is actually the drain tube. So when I pour water in the top, I'll also be able to see if water's running down the outside of this. All the water I poured in sounded like it came out there and looked like it came out. And this rubber tube on this side, bone dry. So this side looks like it's flowing perfectly already. Now for the other side. As you saw, the exit tube is just above where the exhaust tips mount onto the back box. You can't really miss it if you get your head underneath there. As this is the side with the amp on, I am hoping to see a problem here so that I can actually fix something. So there is some crap in both of these drain holes, but really not much, and as you can hear and see, the water was flowing very well. So I've cleaned the crap out, and I'm going to take some people's advice, which is to modify the outlet by just trimming it down so that water can more easily drain out. I'm not going to take too much off it here, but it might just help it drain a bit faster and make sure it'll never fill up even in, you know, a monsoon. There we go. I'll do the other side as well, and then I can be safe in the knowledge that the drains are good. So the driver's side drain, also really good and clear. Modified the both of them for good measure, but it probably wasn't necessary, to be honest. Also noticing bone dry again. So whatever's wrong with the amp, it's not a problem with the sunroof drains on this car at the moment. You can have a sneak peek underneath the headlining to see where those rubber tubes actually connect to the tray for the sunroof at the rear. You can't see a lot by just prizing, but you can see a little bit. As you can see, it is a bit of a complicated mess in here, so it's quite hard for me to point it out, but I can see where the rubber tube actually connects to that sunroof drain tray, and again it's bone dry on this side and on the other. It is a little bit disappointing to not have found a problem here that I could use to explain my problem with the amp. That is a shame, but nevertheless, I've shown you how these rear drains work now, and I definitely recommend clearing them out at least a couple of times a year. I now have peace of mind that my sunroof is draining perfectly and it's not the source of water ingress in this car. I'll be honest with you, I have actually had this entire boot stripped out previously. I've probably been overlaying pictures of what it looks like behind here with the amp. That's when I took them. The reason I had it out before was because I had a different water problem. Well, I thought it was different at the time. When I was using the rear wash wipe, I was getting a waterfall going into the boot on this side, and that's because there's a split in the pipe. I think that's a very commonly overlooked problem that causes water ingress in these cars. That rear wipe wash pipe work is rubbish. That will be the next video. Once I've fixed that, I will be certain that the inside of this car should not have any water in it at all. Make sure you subscribe so you can see the details on that. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has, make sure to leave us a like. Thank you very much for watching.